For some time, responsible politicians, including people like AOC and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, have been making sure that people know that as we launch this pandemic, people are feeling the economic strain, and eventually that is going to be manifested in increased evictions, which we are now seeing. But there's another aspect to this story, a more pervasive structural aspect that might not be as news-wise sexy as a person being thrown out during a pandemic. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't know about it. So I want to talk about this amazing reporting that I saw from NPR about mobile and manufactured home lots being bought up by big investors and what ends up happening when they do that. So they report that previously a lot of these places where mobile homes are clustered are owned by so-called like mom and pop owners, like small businesses, sort of. Now we're facing a generation of them retiring and selling their land and the ownership of these lots and the administration of them. So investors and companies are coming in and buying them up. What is being found is that when they do that, they then raise fees and rents for the land under the homes and evict people who can't pay. Housing advocates say it's a disturbing trend that they've seen all over the country. So that's bad immediately, but wait until you find out what they're doing. So George McCarthy is an economist and also the president of the nonprofit Lincoln Institute of Land Policy. He says they come in to buy the parks, then they raise the rent, sometimes 20%, sometimes 50%, sometimes 70%. And that is bad for individuals, but they're doing it for a reason. So when they come in and they raise the rent, that increases their immediate cash flow and it increases the evaluation of the supposed value of that property, of that company. It will then be rated as being more valuable because in theory, it could be bringing in more money. What they do then is take that increased valuation of the land and barter that against a loan that they then take to use to buy more lots of land and administer more mobile and manufactured housing. So they can, in the short term, gobble up tons of property by like artificially jacking up prices. And the loans that they're getting, by the way, are not just private loans. They can be very low interest rate loans because they're guaranteed by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those are government agencies that are supposed to be helping regular people afford home ownership, but instead their loans are being given to massive investors who are then using it to buy up and kick out people from their homes. And apparently all of this is legal. There's nothing stopping them from doing this, and they're very enthusiastic about it. One CEO of something called Haven Park Communities says that these loans have supercharged their asset acquisitions. They use the loans to buy more than $100 million in just a short period of time. I apologize, we don't have much time, Nina, but just fast reaction.
Yeah, no, it should not be allowed whatsoever. They need to change policies, and that co-op idea that came out of this story, where the people who live on those properties should be able to come pull their money together, buy them, and own their own property.
That's a great idea. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.